Good morning. You're here. Today, we are reading from the book Be Weightless, and we are on chapter 3. The title of the chapter is How to Handle Setbacks. I'm Karen Wilson, author of Be Weightless, and we are just going to dive right into this. How to handle setbacks. It was the day after I had completed the New York City Marathon in 2018. I had my medal around my neck, as it's my tradition to wear it the entire day after the run as a reminder of my victory to myself. It sure does feel good to know you've done something so big that you didn't always think you had in your DNA. We were standing in line for the plane to go to Las Vegas from New York for a few days to relax, not gamble, before heading back to our home in Canada. My husband Barry was ahead of me in line when suddenly I thought I was going to drop. I looked down at my Garmin watch and my heart rate was 29. That terrified me. I knew what to do though, because this was not the first time it happened in the last 6 months. I just needed to move, so I wiggled. I took deep breaths. I imagined myself safe and reminded myself of my strength. I mean, of course you're tired. You just ran a marathon. The same thing had happened to me the day after I ran the Dublin Marathon when we were checking out the top tourist sites in downtown Dublin, Ireland. And that was 7 years before this time. The only thing that was a little more unnerving was it had been happening a lot through my marathon training. When I was teaching fitness classes, sometimes I would get so dizzy, I'd have to take more breaks walking around the room, cueing instead of doing and cueing. I was fine though. My muscles never felt like they were ever recovering. When I taught spin, I used very little resistance on the bike and pretended I was changing levels, but I was fine. A couple months after we returned home, I noticed all my clothes were getting tight. This is after we returned home from the New York Marathon. That dang dryer, again. I decided it must be my time to start on my next running goal. In between my health goals and teaching group fitness classes, I was working a part-time job as a cosmetician, an online freelancer, and acting CFO of our company. I was trying so hard to keep myself active, but with Whiskey, our dog, not around anymore, and the kids grown up and gone, it was so much easier to stay busy. My periods were out of control. Murder scenes. They barely paused between full out and spotting. Sorry, guys. I had been there before, too. This was the third time in my adult life. Must be the endometriosis again that I had always blamed on the birth control pill. I did not blame the stress, not the overworking, not the covering of trauma or past issues stuck in my body. It was easier to blame it on the thing that the doctor gave me. Their fault, not mine. It was fine. I know exactly what to do. The doctor will just do a minor surgery to clean things up, and I'll be fine. I will even release excess weight after the cauterization, and my hormones will stabilize. I've done this before. I've got this. I began going through the motions. I had a new surgeon because mine had retired. What was discovered in my uterus was much more aggressive than this time, much fiercer. It was fibroids the size of mandarin oranges. The endometriosis and anemia were so bad that a cauterization and surgery of any kind was impossible, or risky, I guess is a better word. Take it out, I pleaded. Just take it all out. By this time, I had let go of many things that made me feel whole in desperation to relieve some of my fatigue. I had to let go of teaching fitness classes. I had to let go of my cosmetician job. I was exercising less. I hadn't felt this fat in years. I felt pregnant, tired, and lost. I felt like my identity was slipping away, and I felt terrified. I was going to gain all my weight back through this perimenopausal phase of life upon me. I had known women who had hysterectomies that never seemed to battle with their weight ever again. I wanted the war to end with my weight. I wanted to feel weightless again. I was less concerned with my body health than I was with my weight. I made myself a promise that I would never gain it back, and I'm sure I was over halfway there. I wouldn't look at the scale or even let the doctor tell me. I made a fear-based decision for the hysterectomy, the same way I did for quitting smoking and tubal ligation we talked about in previous chapters. Take it all out, I said, like it was a nasty bag of garbage I didn't need anymore. The protocol was a pre-surgery prescription meant to shrink the fibroids and stop the bleeding, so I'd be safer to operate on. I'm going to turn this way. Is this my good side? I began to feel energy back and nausea. I began to get less puffy, so I felt like this was going in the right direction. I began to worry about everything, obsessive. Checking dates, rechecking, trying to figure everything out, and I even began obsessing over getting another dog. I convinced my husband it was time, and we were going through the process of adopting Tula, the Great Pyrenees. I was getting ready for surgery, and I had finally started writing this book. Then it hit me. Intense, debilitating fear. Am I making a mistake? Can I heal my body myself? I only have 5 years or so before my body naturally takes me to menopause. Hopefully sooner. uh, just side note. Can I gut it out or can I do life better? I dialed up the hospital to see if I was scheduled yet. The nurse said it was an elective surgery and I did not have a date yet. Elective? What do you mean elective? I opened up Google search and typed in complications of hysterectomy. Oh, this could go bad. Really bad. I was also nauseous a lot from those dang pills known to be hard on the liver. I shouldn't be taking them. I might have a stroke. The wheels in my head just kept spinning in circles, and I was convinced I was poisoning myself and making a big mistake. I canceled the surgery. I quit the prescription. I'd been feeling okay anyway, period-wise, and I hadn't had my girly time for about 2.5 months. So I was laying on the couch FaceTiming with my mom, on the phone with my auntie and my mom. My auntie said, "It sounds like you are having an anxiety or a panic attack." Me? No way. I don't even have anxiety. I'm so easygoing. This is not that. It's my body shutting down. 4 days later, I'm crying in the surgeon's office, apologizing for having wasted her time, begging her to help me to get my head back in line. I was debilitated. I couldn't work. I couldn't shop. I felt like I was in a different galaxy. I was sensitive to light and sound, and I was terrified that people would notice. It reminded me of the time as a teenager. I went to work high on marijuana before it was legal. I was just desperately trying to get through the shift and not let anybody know. My surgeon suggested I get help from my family doctor. Mental health was out of her scope of practice. So now I'm going to be admitted for sure. OMG, what is happening to me? I'm sitting in my doctor's office with a notebook full of questions, and my husband is by my side. I thought I was going to be admitted, just like my mom was when she was my age. We're not going to give you any prescription to take care of this. It will ride out on its own. Thank goodness. I let out a big sigh of relief. It sounds like you are experiencing a hormonal imbalance from the prescription medicine you were given, and your nervous system is out of balance. The good news is the fibroids have shrunk and you're no longer anemic, but your iron is still low. We're going to refer you to a different gynecologist who is more open to natural healing practices along with Western science, and he will probably be a better fit for you. You need to let your nervous system heal. So this means no dieting, no fasting workouts, no exercising for more than 30 minutes at a time, no exercising first thing in the morning, no caffeine. Exercise of choice is preferably yoga and low impact or walking for the next couple of months. And breathing exercises to your routine. Start using a happy light every morning when you wake. Anxiety can easily swing to depression. Be very gentle and patient with yourself. Talk to yourself with a kind voice and treat yourself like this is an injury. You will have waves, but you can ride them out just like that. I was still scared about my heart. I was scared I was going to have a stroke and die, like my friend did in 9th grade, like my dad did when I was 34, like so many other stories I've heard. So the doctors checked my heart with an overnight reader. All the while in the back of my head, I'm thinking, am I becoming a hypochondriac? Now I have an excuse to myself. This is why I'm fat again. I've lost all my anchors. I had the same morning workout routine for at least a decade, and it was all being stripped away. I felt like I was floating around in the abyss, so flaky and so insecure. Then I took deeper control. I stuck to my protocol for 2 months and gradually increased my strength. I saw people looking me up and down in the grocery store. I know those eyes, the ones that say, "Oh, wow, has she ever packed on the pounds?" I let it go. I knew I was healing. I read more books about hormones. In particular, I read How to Heal Naturally and How to Balance Through the Shift that I'm approaching. I gave myself grace. 2 years later, I find myself writing this book with my uterus still in me, back to all the activities I love, including running, drinking coffee in the morning. Although I still have some extra weight, I'm learning how to feel weightless again. I've healed. I'm still a work in progress, but I'm still going in the right direction, and we are never done. It's a lifeline of changing seasons and changing circumstances, another opportunity to become more self aware with a gentler voice. I'm not fragile, I'm bold. I'm not weak, I'm a warrior. I've not let myself go, I've let myself in. What is the definition of a setback anyway? And how can you manage yours? As defined in the dictionary, a setback is an event that delays your progress or reverses some of the progresses that you have made. And how can you manage that? Well, step one is to realize that most setbacks are opportunities to step up. It requires you to dig deeper to get to know yourself more and understand how your body works, to learn deeper how to love and work with your body instead of being at war with it. A setback enables you to open your mind to a new route you may not have gone, or to unclog the drain of the past that needed to be discovered and released. Setbacks are gifts in disguise, consistency to your healthful lifestyle, is on the other side of setbacks. The second way to manage a setback is to work with the setback at hand. So, some other examples of setbacks are: I had my first injury 3 months before the New York Marathon in 2018. The setback was stacked on top of a training setback. The skies had been filled with wildfire smoke, way too much smoke to run long runs outside and breathe in the particulate. I overcame that by going to the gym and running for 2 hours on the treadmill. Turns out that's a really good way to blow a hip flexor, especially since I hadn't run on a treadmill in years. There was no way I was going to pull out of this event, and Barry and I had invested a good amount of money and time to get there. It was a bucket list item. This wasn't for weight loss. This was to go to New York City and come back with a medal and a cape. A real cape with fluffy lining that you get to wear at the finish line. The cape is meant for warmth, but I see the cape with a glow of superpowers. My goal of the marathon was to finish strong and proud, and I was going to do it. I overcame my injury by going to see a physiotherapist for the first time in my life. I learned more about how to be kind to myself as I got older. Even though I was 45, I felt longer. Muscular atrophy does not discriminate, but you can slow it down. We came up with a training plan and a race plan that would get me crossing that finish line pain-free, and it worked. In hindsight, I was already anemic at that time, which may have contributed to the injury. I don't know for sure, though. Death of a loved one. This is another setback. 5 months before the New York City Marathon, my beloved dog Whiskey died. It gutted me. My 11-year-old morning routine was shaken. My entire day and world were upside down. But I had the marathon that kept me running and eating relatively well. Grief is a stressor too. I should have lightened up my training load to compensate for the grief. Not stop altogether. Just go easier on myself. Have you ever tried running and crying at the same time? It doesn't work. You just can't breathe. When my dad died, I had to travel, and I made a plan to stay with my morning routine. I got up before everyone else so I could at least get a power walk in. I needed it for my mental health. That meant resisting staying up late. I didn't worry about keeping my regular exercise and meal plan in. I just knew I needed something to help me stay strong for my mom, that helped me to control my eating so that I didn't feel gross. If you feel gross, it's really hard to exercise. It feels better to easily digest stuff that your body recognizes. An increase at work. That could be another setback in disguise. I've fluctuated in my work hours over the years, and right now I have a more flexible schedule than I've ever had. Still, I'd argue that it's harder. Working outside the home gave me less time to be wasteful with. It's systems that make anything doable throughout any fluctuation. Once you have the systems in place, you are golden. Then all you need to do is insert a time block for self care. A system is a stack of things you do in order or a plan you follow. When work is busy for me, it's at home workouts and walking the dog. On more leisurely times, you might want to join a class or you might want a blend of the two. You are also in charge of what you're going to put in your mouth. So, a simple sketch of a meal planning and grocery shopping once a week is critical to your success. Bonus if you add a little bit of meal prep in there. A change in childcare. It's an opportunity to visit your schedule and figure out a morning or evening routine that works for you most of the time. When I had no children, I was in the 5 a.m. club, working out in the basement before the house was awake. I'd sleep in my workout clothes, do my workout, then take the dog for a run or a walk all before 7. It worked for my family in that season of life. It meant I stopped staying up late watching the news. Accountability quits on you or the gym closes. Oh my gosh, how many times in our lives does this happen? I don't believe in accountability buddies because if something goes wrong in their routine, they take you down with them. However, in my days as a group fitness instructor, I noticed participants would keep each other accountable after they met. They had already found the type of workout and atmosphere that kept themselves consistent. Protect yourself from this with a what happens if my accountability quits or my gym closes plan before it happens. Empower yourself. Fall in love with your own process and routine. Weight gain. If you've been following along, you know I believe this will happen. Empower yourself with knowledge about this beautiful envelope of your soul you are in. We are made up of so many moving parts and cells that continue to thrive on good energy. Talk to yourself the way you would talk to your plants when you water them. Nurture yourself and deep dive into self study. You are the same person 20 pounds heavier or lighter. Read that again. The management of all angles is this: you have to be your own accountability buddy. Really lean into what we discussed in chapter 2 and get out your journal and daily planner. You definitely need to feel where you are and process, but don't stay down for long. Don't ever quit. Understand your needs in the season you are in and reframe the word setback to step over. Once you navigate a setback without quitting everything, including mindset, you've conquered what many can't. Be prepared for anything by diving deep into self awareness and creating systems and habits. What are some of the setbacks you have faced in your wellness journey? Whatever that looks like. What did you do as a result of those setbacks? What is your backup plan to step over and work with setbacks moving forward? Self sabotage and imposter syndrome may be the biggest setback one bumps up against, which is why the next chapter is completely devoted to quieting those ugly whispers. Yeah. So next week, we will dive into chapter 4. And it's one of my favorite chapters because I talk about, self-sabotage and imposter syndrome. And so that's coming up next week. Next week, we do have a new day and time that I will be going live to do these live recordings, and that will be Tuesday at 9:30 Pacific time. So be sure to subscribe to get the next chapter. If this is your first time meeting me, hello, my name is Karen Wilson. I'm a creative professional. I'm an author. I help people write awesome stuff, find clarity, and keep wellness in the work plan. And so, one of the things that I've been loving doing is sharing the book that I just self published last week. It's called Be Weightless. You can get your copy down below. There's a link to get it off of Amazon. And we're just exploring some of the favorite chapters on this playlist. We won't do the entire book on this playlist because I will be putting an audiobook together for you with some tools, some of the real beneficial tools that come out of the book. And that will be a paid offer. So to have it all in one place. So it's also not fair for all of you that have purchased the book. I enjoy reading my stories out loud. You know that about me. But I want to also honor the fact that you have definitely uh, invested in having your own copy and having all the tools at your fingertips that you could go back to, that I've, you know, lived by, and that you invested in that. So I don't want to, give it all away for free here on YouTube. That's not fair to the people that have invested. So we're going to do chapters 4 and 5, and then we're going to skip over a few chapters in this playlist, where I really dive deep into the, nutrition and exercise pieces. And let's see here. Now it sounds like I'm just kind of rambling, so make sure that you subscribe. So the 3 chapters that I will be not reading out loud are chapters 7, 8, and 9. Then we'll come back in chapter 10, 11, 12, and 13. So a lot of the reason why I'm skipping those chapters too is they have a lot of content in them, like checklists and like kind of like a meal plan that's a non-meal plan, and all of that. And that's really difficult to get across in a read to me video. So we're just in this playlist, we're emphasizing the stories, the lessons, and not so much the how. So that's that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in wherever you're from, and make sure that you remember that anytime that you want to discuss anything, you can send me a private message. My Instagram is down below this video. You can send me a message there, and or you could put a comment underneath this video if there's something that you would like to dive a little bit deeper into, that we've covered. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care.